girl stood at the edge of the shimmering blue pool, her heart racing as she watched her teammates dive in one after another. The splashes echoed like the sound of her own insecurities, each wave a reminder of the pressure that lay ahead. The air was thick with the scent of chlorine, mingling with the nervous energy that surrounded her. As she focused on the rhythmic strokes of her friends, admiration washed over her, but it was quickly overshadowed by a creeping envy. "Come on, Mia, you've got this," called out one of her teammates, Jenny, her voice bright and encouraging as she pulled herself out of the water, droplets glistening on her tanned skin. Mia forced a smile, but inside doubt gnawed at her. It had been months since her last competition, a meet that had turned into a nightmare, a moment of faltering under pressure that haunted her thoughts like a persistent shadow. "Why can't I just be confident like them?" she murmured to herself, feeling the weight of her own expectations pressing down on her shoulders. The vibrant energy of the pool was juxtaposed with the dull ache of her self-doubt. She took a deep breath, trying to steady her racing heart. "Why are you still standing there?" Sarah, the reigning champion and a powerhouse in the pool, approached her, a playful smirk on her lips. "You're not scared, are you?" Mia swallowed hard, her throat dry. "No, of course not," she lied, forcing her voice to sound steady. "Good," Sarah said, her tone light but her eyes sharp, as if she could see through Maya's facade. "We need you at your best if we're going to win this championship." With that, Sarah turned and joined the others, her powerful strokes cutting through the water like a knife. Mia's heart sank as she watched her swim, the effortless grace and strength on display reminding her of her own vulnerabilities. Just then, Ethan, the new coach, noticed Mia's hesitation. He had been observing the team from the sidelines, his keen eyes taking in every detail: the athletes' interactions, their body language, the unspoken tensions. He approached Mia, a warm smile breaking through his rugged exterior. "Hey, Mia," he said, his voice low and encouraging. "Are you ready to dive in?" Mia hesitated, glancing down at the water. "I don't know," she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. "What if I mess up again?" Ethan's expression softened as he leaned against the pool's edge, arms crossed. "You know, I used to feel the same way. There was a time when I thought I wouldn't be able to compete because of my nerves. I remember standing at the edge of the pool, feeling like I was going to drown before I even hit the water." Mia looked up surprised. "Really, you? "Yeah," Ethan chuckled, the sound rich and genuine. "It's easy to forget that even the best athletes have faced their share of challenges. What matters is how you respond when the pressure is on. You have the talent, Mia. You just need to believe in yourself." As he spoke, Mia felt a flicker of something inside her, an ember of determination. "But what if I fail again? What if I let everyone down?" "Failure is part of the game," Ethan replied earnestly. "It's how you learn and grow. Trust me, you're not alone in this. You have a whole team behind you." Mia's heart swelled at his words. For the first time, she felt a spark of confidence igniting within her. "Okay," she said, a newfound resolve in her voice. "I'll give it my best shot." "That's the spirit." Ethan grinned, clapping her on the shoulder. "Now, let's see what you've got. Dive in and show me those skills." Just then, Sarah re-emerged from the water, her eyes narrowing as she caught the exchange between Mia and Ethan. A twinge of unease twisted in her stomach. She didn't like how easily Mia seemed to be winning over the new coach. The last thing she wanted was for anyone to believe that Mia could be a real threat to her title. As she swam closer, she overheard Ethan's encouraging words and felt a surge of irritation. "What's going on here?" she interjected, her voice laced with an edge. "Just helping Mia find her confidence," Ethan replied, an easy smile still on his face. Sarah's expression hardened, her competitive nature flaring up. "Well, she'd better find it quickly. We don't have time for hesitation if we want to take home the championship." Mia felt the tension crackle between them, her earlier confidence beginning to waver. "I'm trying, Sarah," she said, her voice steadying. "I just want to do my best." Your best better be good enough, Sarah shot back, her tone sharp. Or else you'll just be another name on the roster. Ethan stepped in, sensing the rising conflict. All right. Let's keep this positive. Mia, focus on your training. Sarah, remember that we're a team. Together, we achieve more. Mia nodded, her heart still racing, not just from the workout but from the simmering tension that now filled the air. She watched Sarah swim away, a determined look on her face. What was going on beneath the surface? As the practice continued, Mia found herself lost in thought, the ripples of uncertainty washing over her. She wanted to prove herself, to show everyone, including Sarah, that she was more than just a backup swimmer. But deep down she feared that the pressure might prove too much once again. Ethan called the team together for a quick huddle, his authoritative presence commanding their attention. All right, team, I know the championships are coming up, and I want to see everyone giving their all. Mia, I believe in you. You're capable of so much more than you realize. Mia's heart lifted at his words, but she couldn't shake the look of determination in Sarah's eyes. Competition was fierce, and as the practices intensified, so did the unspoken rivalry. As they all returned to their lanes, Mia took a deep breath, readying herself for the upcoming challenge. She dove into the water, feeling the cool embrace envelop her, pushing her doubts aside. Each stroke was a promise to herself, a commitment to rise above the waves of uncertainty. Yet, as she swam, she couldn't help but feel the weight of Sarah's gaze on her, a reminder that in the world of competitive swimming, the line between friendship and rivalry was razor thin. The road to the championships was fraught with challenges, and Mia knew she had to be ready for whatever lay ahead. With every lap, the tension between the three friends simmered beneath the surface, setting the stage for the trials that awaited them. The championship was just around the corner, and with it, the potential for both glory and heartbreak. As Mia emerged from the water, her heart pounding with a mix of excitement and fear, she couldn't help but wonder how their stories would intertwine in the days to come. Mia stood on the pool deck, the sun casting a warm glow on the water's surface, which sparkled like 1,000 tiny diamonds. The air was thick with the scent of chlorine, and the sounds of splashing and laughter echoed around her. Her teammates were engaged in their usual pre-practice banter, but Mia felt detached, a spectator in her own life. She looked down at her feet, feeling the rough texture of the concrete beneath her, and tried to shake off the anxiety that had settled in her chest since the announcement of the upcoming national championships. All right, team, gather around. Ethan's voice cut through the noise, commanding attention. Mia glanced up to see him standing at the edge of the pool, his tall frame silhouetted against the bright sun. She admired his ability to project authority while still seeming approachable. He had a way of making each swimmer feel valued, and today he seemed particularly energized. As the team assembled, Ethan began to outline the training plan for the next few weeks. I know the championships are looming and I can feel the pressure building, but this is where we dig deep, where we find out what we're truly made of. Each of you has the potential to shine, and I'm here to help you reach it. Mia felt a spark of motivation igniting within her. She could almost hear her heart beating in time with Ethan's passionate words. I want to prove myself, she murmured under her breath, her determination boiling just below the surface. She watched as Ethan scanned the group, his gaze landing on her for a moment, as if sensing her inner turmoil. Let's start with some warm-up laps, Ethan instructed, and the team dispersed into the water. Mia took a deep breath, dove in, and felt the coolness envelop her. She began to swim, focusing on her strokes, trying to push aside the nagging self-doubt. Each lap was a chance to assert her dedication, to show Ethan and herself that she was capable of greatness. Meanwhile, Sarah lingered at the edge of the pool, watching Mia with narrowed eyes. She felt the competitive fire burning in her chest, mixed with an undeniable sense of dread. The pressure to maintain her title weighed heavily on her shoulders. Unlike Mia, Sarah had always been the best, the one everyone looked up to. But as she observed Mia's powerful strokes, she couldn't shake the feeling that the tide was beginning to turn. After practice, as the team gathered around for a quick debrief, Sarah pulled Ethan aside. "Ethan, can I talk to you for a second?" She kept her voice low, but the urgency in her tone was clear. "Of course, Sarah. What's on your mind?" he replied, his brow furrowing with concern. "I'm just feeling, I don't know, overwhelmed, I guess. With the championships coming up, it's like everyone is expecting me to win again. It's a lot of pressure." She forced a smile, but it didn't reach her eyes. Ethan studied her for a moment, sensing the truth behind her facade. "You know, it's okay to feel that way. Pressure can be a heavy burden. But remember, you're not alone in this. You have a team that supports you, and I'm here to help you manage that pressure." "Thanks, Ethan. I appreciate it. I just need to keep pushing myself," Sarah replied, her voice barely above a whisper. As she walked away, a flicker of doubt crossed her face. Was pushing herself hard enough? The following days blurred into a whirlwind of grueling training sessions. Mia found herself rising before dawn, the world still shrouded in darkness, as she made her way to the pool. The water was cold and biting, yet invigorating. She swam lap after lap, her muscles aching but her spirit soaring. She wanted to prove to Ethan that he had made the right choice in believing in her. She wanted to show Sarah that she was not a threat but a teammate. But Sarah's demeanor also shifted. She began to isolate herself, training at odd hours, often swimming alone long after the sun had set. The flickering lights of the pool illuminated her solitary figure, gliding through the water with a precision that belied her inner turmoil. Each stroke was fueled by a cocktail of determination and fear, pushing her to the brink of exhaustion. She felt the weight of expectation suffocating her, and the only way to cope was to drown herself in training. One evening, after a particularly intense practice, Ethan noticed Sarah's fatigue. "Sarah, can I talk to you for a minute?" he called out as she climbed out of the pool, water dripping from her hair, her breath heavy. "Sure, what's up?" she replied, forcing a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. "I've been watching you train, and I'm a bit concerned. You're pushing yourself really hard. It's great to be dedicated, but you have to listen to your body too. Rest is just as important as training." "I'm fine, Ethan. I just want to make sure I'm ready for the championships," Sarah snapped, the edge in her voice surprising her. She quickly softened her tone, adding, "I can't afford to fall behind. I understand, but overtraining can lead to burnout. You don't want to be at your worst when it matters the most," he cautioned, his voice steady. "How about we take a step back and focus on quality over quantity? It's about being smart, not just hard." Sarah nodded, though the tension in her shoulders didn't ease. She appreciated Ethan's concern but felt like she was standing on a tightrope, balancing the need to excel with the fear of losing everything she had worked for. That evening at practice, as the team swam under the fluorescent lights, the atmosphere was thick with unspoken tension. Mia and Sarah exchanged glances, both aware of the rivalry brewing between them. Mia could feel Sarah's eyes on her, but she was determined not to let it intimidate her. She needed to focus on her own performance. "Hey, Mia," Sarah called out during a break, her tone deceptively casual. "What do you think about the upcoming meet? You feeling confident?" Mia hesitated, unsure if Sarah was genuinely curious or testing her. "I'm just trying to do my best. What about you?" She met Sarah's gaze, holding it steady. "Just trying not to let the pressure get to me," Sarah replied, her voice low but laced with an underlying challenge. "You know how it is. Everyone expects me to win." "Yeah, I get that. But I think you're strong enough to handle it," Mia said, surprising herself with her own conviction. "Strong enough? Maybe. But strength isn't just about physical ability, is it?" Sarah shot back, her eyes narrowing. "It's also about knowing how to stay on top, even when everything's falling apart around you." Mia felt a surge of frustration. "Then why are you isolating yourself? We're a team, Sarah. We're supposed to support each other, not tear each other down." Sarah opened her mouth to retort, but paused, the weight of Mia's words sinking in. For a moment, silence enveloped them, each girl grappling with her own insecurities. Before either could respond, Ethan stepped in, sensing the tension. "All right, let's refocus, everyone. I want you all to partner up for some relay practice. It's time to work together, not against each other. You'll be stronger as a team than as individuals." As Mia and Sarah reluctantly paired up, the air crackled with unresolved tension. They dove in side by side, each stroke a mix of competition and collaboration. Deep down, Mia hoped that they could find a way to bridge the gap that had formed between them. With the championships looming, they needed each other more than ever, even if neither was ready to admit it. Mia stood at the edge of the pool, the water shimmering under the bright fluorescent lights. She could hear the sounds of splashes and the rhythmic breathing of her teammates as they pushed themselves during practice. The national championships were just days away, and the tension was palpable. Today was different, though. She could feel a shift in the atmosphere, a tentative camaraderie forming between her and Sarah. It was a fragile alliance built on shared burdens, and she hoped it would last. "Hey, Mia, care to join me for a few laps?" Sarah called out, her voice bright but with an undercurrent of uncertainty. Mia turned, surprised to hear the reigning champion reaching out to her. Just weeks ago, their relationship had been defined by rivalry and unspoken resentment. Now, they were both standing on the precipice of something new. Sure, I'd love to," Mia replied, her voice steady despite the butterflies in her stomach. She slipped into the water next to Sarah, feeling the familiar coolness envelop her. They began to swim side by side, each stroke pushing away the weight of their insecurities. "You've really improved, you know," Sarah said, glancing over as they reached the end of the pool. "That last practice race, I didn't think you'd catch up to me." Mia felt a blush creeping up her cheeks. "Thanks, but I still have a long way to go. I want to prove that I can keep up with you and everyone else." Sarah nodded, her expression thoughtful. "I get that. The pressure can be overwhelming sometimes. I've been feeling it too." She hesitated, as if weighing her next words. "It's like every time I step on that block, I have to be perfect. Anything less than first feels like failure." Mia's heart raced at Sarah's admission. This was the first time they were truly connecting, and she wanted to take the opportunity to delve deeper. "You're not alone in feeling that way. I struggled a lot after my last competition. I thought I'd never be able to face the team again." "Really, you're one of the most talented swimmers I know," Sarah replied, her eyes widening in surprise. "Thanks, but talent doesn't always translate into confidence, does it?" Mia said, her voice softening. "I've learned that even the best can falter. It's just hard to shake off that feeling." Sarah considered this, her gaze drifting to the water's surface. "It feels like there's this expectation to always be strong. But sometimes I just want to scream." Mia chuckled lightly, the tension slowly dissipating between them. "Screaming in the water might not be the best idea, though." "Agreed," Sarah laughed. And for the first time, Mia felt a genuine connection with her. It was a small step, but it felt monumental. As they swam their final laps, Ethan watched from the sidelines, a proud smile on his face. He had seen the progress Mia was making, not just in her speed but in her ability to connect with her teammates. It was a step toward the unity he hoped to foster in the team. Later that evening, Mia found herself sitting on the bleachers, her legs dangling over the edge as she watched the sun dip below the horizon. The pool was quiet now, the only sounds the soft trickle of water and the rustling of leaves in the breeze. Ethan joined her, taking a seat beside her, his expression serious yet gentle. "Mia," he began, breaking the silence, "I wanted to talk to you about something important." "What is it?" she asked, her curiosity piqued. He sighed, running a hand through his hair. "I've been reflecting on my time as a swimmer. You know, I didn't always have it easy. There was a time when I lost a close friend during a race. It was a horrible accident, one that haunts me to this day. Mia looked at him, her heart aching at the vulnerability in his voice. I'm so sorry, Ethan. I can't imagine how difficult that must have been for you. He nodded, his gaze distant. It was. That's why I'm so passionate about coaching. I want to ensure that no one else has to go through what I did. I want to help you all find your strength and navigate the challenges that come with this sport. Mia felt a swell of gratitude toward him. You've already helped me so much, Ethan. I feel more confident in the water than I ever have before. Good, you have so much potential, and I believe in you, he replied, turning to face her. But remember, it's not just about winning. It's about growth and overcoming your fears. That's what makes a true champion. Mia nodded, the weight of his words sinking in. She understood now that the journey was just as important as the destination. As they sat in companionable silence, Mia felt a sense of peace wash over her. The next day, at practice, the air was charged with anticipation as the team prepared for a series of timed races. Mia stood on the block, her heart pounding with the thrill of competition. Sarah was beside her, a determined look on her face. The last few weeks had changed their dynamic, but the rivalry still lingered beneath the surface. Ready? Sarah asked, her voice steady, yet Mia could hear the tension in it. Ready as I'll ever be, Mia replied, forcing a smile. On your marks, Ethan called, his authoritative voice cutting through the tension. As they dove into the water, Mia felt the rush of adrenaline. She focused on her strokes, pushing herself harder with every lap. But as they reached the final stretch, an unexpected surge of speed from Mia propelled her past Sarah. She could hardly believe it when she touched the wall first. Emerging from the water, Mia gasped in disbelief. She had beaten Sarah for the first time. The victory tasted sweet, but also left a bitter aftertaste. She turned to see Sarah, whose expression was a mix of shock and something else, something deeper. Wow, Mia, you really did it, Sarah said, her voice barely above a whisper. Thanks, I didn't expect that at all, Mia replied, forcing a grin even as her heart raced. But as she looked into Sarah's eyes, she noticed the flicker of something unspoken. It was as if Sarah was grappling with more than just the loss of a race. The moment hung heavy in the air, and Mia felt a sense of foreboding. Are you okay? Mia asked gently, her concern evident. Yeah, of course, Sarah replied too quickly, the facade slipping back into place. I just need to process this. You swam really well. As Sarah walked away, Mia's heart sank. She had won, but at what cost? The bond they had been building felt fragile, teetering on the edge of something deeper that neither of them dared to acknowledge. And as the practice came to a close, the weight of unspoken secrets loomed large over the team, hinting at the storm that was yet to come. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a warm golden hue over the small town, the high school swimming pool buzzed with energy. It was the night before the national championships, and Mia, Ethan, and Sarah gathered with their teammates for a much-anticipated pep talk. The atmosphere was charged with a blend of excitement and anxiety, a palpable undercurrent that connected them all. Ethan stood at the front of the room, his tall frame silhouetted against the light streaming in from the windows. He looked out at the team, their faces a mixture of determination and apprehension. All right, everyone, he began, his voice resonating with authority. Tomorrow is a big day, and I want to remind you all of why you're here. Each of you has worked incredibly hard to get to this moment. Mia sat cross-legged on the floor, her heart pounding in her chest. She stole a glance at Sarah, who sat a few feet away, her expression unreadable. Despite their tentative truce, Mia couldn't shake the feeling of competition lingering between them. Ethan continued, sharing his own story. A tale of resilience that resonated deeply with Mia. When I was your age, I faced my own challenges, Ethan confessed, his voice softer now. I lost a friend in a swimming accident, someone I thought would always be there beside me. That loss taught me the importance of teamwork and support. No one makes it alone. We need each other. Mia felt a surge of inspiration wash over her. She had always admired Ethan's dedication, but hearing him speak so openly about his past filled her with a renewed sense of purpose. She glanced around the room, noticing her teammates nodding in agreement, their initial nervousness replaced by a sense of unity. "Let's face tomorrow not just as individuals, but as a team," Ethan urged, his eyes scanning each member of the group. "Support each other, celebrate each other's victories, and lift each other up when the going gets tough. We're in this together." Mia's heart swelled with pride. She was ready to face the next day, buoyed by the collective strength of her teammate. As the meeting wrapped up, the group stood up, exchanging words of encouragement. Mia caught Sarah's eye, and for a fleeting moment, they shared a smile, an unspoken acknowledgement of their journey. Later that night, when the excitement of the pep talk faded, Sarah found herself unable to sleep. The pressure of being the reigning champion clawed at her insides, a relentless whisper that echoed in her mind. She slipped out of her house, the cool night air brushing against her skin as she made her way to the pool. The water glimmered under the moonlight, a siren's call that beckoned her to dive in. She stripped down to her swimsuit, feeling the familiar rush as she plunged into the depths. The cold water enveloped her, and for a moment she felt free. But as she swam laps in the dark, her thoughts spiraled into a whirlpool of anxiety. "I have to win," she muttered to herself, pushing harder against the water. "I can't let them down." Each stroke felt heavier than the last, the weight of expectations pressing down on her. The shadows of her fears loomed larger in the quiet solitude of the night. Unbeknownst to Sarah, Mia had been restless as well. When she noticed Sarah missing from the team area, her instinct kicked in. Concerned, she decided to check the pool, her heart racing as she approached. The sound of splashing echoed in the stillness, and she slinked closer, her breath hitching in her throat as she saw Sarah swimming furiously. "Sarah!" Mia called out, her voice cutting through the night. The intensity of Sarah's strokes faltered momentarily as she turned, surprise dawning on her face. "Mia, what are you doing here?" Sarah replied, her tone sharp, almost defensive. "I was worried about you," Mia admitted, stepping closer to the pool's edge. "You shouldn't be here alone right now." "I'm fine," Sarah shot back, though her breath was labored and her expression betrayed her unease. "I just need to train. I can't afford to fall behind." "Training at midnight? You need rest," Mia countered gently, trying to reach her. "You're already one of the best. You don't have to push yourself this hard." Sarah's frustration bubbled to the surface. "You don't understand. I can't just let go of everything I've worked for. Everyone expects me to win, and I can't disappoint them." "Disappoint who? Your friends? Your family? Or just yourself?" Mia pressed, her concern deepening. "You need to talk about this, Sarah. You're not alone in this. Maybe you're right," Sarah snapped back, her voice tinged with bitterness. "But you have no idea what it's like to be in my shoes, to be the one everyone looks up to. You think it's easy. It's suffocating." Mia felt a pang of empathy at Sarah's words. "I get it. I really do. But you don't have to carry all that weight alone. We're a team. We're supposed to lift each other up, remember." For a moment, silence hung in the air, thick with unspoken truths. Sarah's face softened as she hesitated, the walls she had built around herself beginning to crack. "It's just, I feel like if I'm not the best, I'm nothing. It terrifies me." "Then let's face that fear together," Mia offered, stepping closer to the edge of the pool. "You don't have to hide from me. We can support each other through this." Their eyes locked, and for the first time, both girls felt the weight of their expectations shift. In that moment of vulnerability, they began to see each other not as rivals, but as allies. "I'm scared," Sarah finally admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. "I don't want to let anyone down, but I'm terrified of failing." Mia took a deep breath, her heart aching for her friend. "You won't let anyone down by being honest about how you feel. We all have our struggles. You're not alone in this fight." As the tension began to dissipate, Sarah nodded slowly. the walls around her heart cracking further. I guess I've been so focused on winning that I forgot what it means to be part of a team. Mia smiled gently, relief washing over her. It's okay. We can figure this out together. I'm here for you, and I'm sure Ethan would be too. Their conversation forged a fragile bond, one built on understanding and shared fears. As they stood by the pool, the moonlight illuminating their faces, both girls realized that the path ahead would not be easy, but they no longer had to walk it alone. In the quiet of the night, beneath the stars that seemed to twinkle in approval, Mia and Sarah took a step toward healing, ready to face the challenges ahead, not just as competitors, but as friends. The day of the championships dawned with a palpable energy that hung in the air like an electric charge. Mia stood at the edge of the pool, her heart racing in sync with the rising sun. She could hear the chatter of excited spectators, the splash of swimmers warming up, and her own thoughts swirling in a chaotic dance of anxiety and hope. The shimmering surface of the water reflected her inner turmoil, a mirror of her dreams and fears. Mia. Ethan's voice broke through her reverie. He approached her with a determined stride, his usual calm demeanor tinged with an undercurrent of urgency. You ready for this? She nodded, though her throat felt dry, and a lump formed as she recalled the weight of expectation that rested on her shoulders. I think so. I want to do my best. Ethan placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. Just remember, you've trained hard for this moment. Trust yourself. You're not just racing against the clock. You're racing against your own doubts. Don't let them win. His words were like a balm to her frayed nerves, and she took a deep breath, letting the air fill her lungs. Thanks, coach. I'll try. As Ethan walked away to check on the other competitors, Mia focused on her breathing, visualizing the race ahead. She could almost hear the hum of the starting signal, see the water splashing around her as she glided through it with precision and power. But just as quickly as the image came, it was clouded by the shadow of Sarah's fierce competition. Despite their fragile alliance, the thought of racing against her friend, someone she had come to understand deeply, filled her with a sense of dread. Hey! Sarah's voice cut through the haze, and Mia turned to see her friend standing beside her, a determined glint in her eye. You ready to show them what we've got? Mia forced a smile, trying to match Sarah's enthusiasm. Yeah, let's do this. The two girls exchanged a nod, a silent agreement to support each other, even amidst the weight of competition. They had come so far, overcoming their insecurities and fears. But as the whistle blew and the announcer's voice boomed over the loudspeakers, reality set in. This was it, the moment they had trained for, the culmination of countless hours in the water. As the competitors lined up at the edge of the pool, Mia's heart pounded in her chest. She could feel the energy of the crowd, the anticipation hanging thick in the air. The referee raised his hand, signaling the start. Mia's focus narrowed. She could hear nothing but the rush of water and the rhythm of her own heartbeat. On your marks, Mia took her position, the cool tiles beneath her feet grounding her. She glanced at Sarah, who was poised and ready, her expression fierce but vulnerable. For a fleeting moment they exchanged a look that spoke volumes, an unspoken promise of support no matter the outcome. Set! The sound of the starting gun shattered the tension, and they were off. Mia propelled herself into the water, her body slicing through the surface with practiced ease. She felt powerful, each stroke a testament to her hard work and resilience. She focused on her technique, her breathing, and the rhythm of the water surrounding her. But as she surged forward, she noticed Sarah in her periphery. Sarah was initially strong, her stroke smooth and fluid, but then Mia saw the subtle shift. A flicker of panic crossed Sarah's face as she reached the halfway mark. The competitive fire that had once burned so brightly seemed to falter, replaced by something darker. Come on, Sarah, Mia urged silently, her heart aching for her friend. But then she saw it. Sarah's expression twisted in fear, her strokes faltering. The atmosphere shifted. A collective gasp rising from the crowd as they realized something was wrong. In that instant, instinct took over. Mia turned sharply, her heart racing not just from the competition, but from a deep-seated need to help. Ignoring the consequences for her own race, she dove back into the water, pushing against the current with all her strength. Crowd's cheers faded into a distant roar, replaced by the sound of her own body cutting through the water. "Sarah?" Mia called out, her voice strained as she swam closer. She could see her friend struggling, panic etched across her features, arms flailing. It was as if time slowed, every second stretched into an eternity as Mia reached out, grasping Sarah's arm. "Hold on, I've got you," Mia shouted, pulling with all her might. She felt the weight of Sarah's body against her, the cold water enveloping them both. But she wouldn't let go. Together, they surged toward the edge of the pool, the world around them fading into insignificance. Ethan had been watching from the sidelines, his heart racing as he witnessed the unfolding scene. "Mia!" he shouted, his voice laced with urgency. He dashed toward the pool, adrenaline coursing through him as he reached the edge just as Mia pulled Sarah to safety. The crowd erupted into chaos, gasps of disbelief mixed with cheers as Mia and Sarah emerged from the water, breathless but alive. Ethan quickly jumped in, aiding both girls as they gasped for air, their bodies trembling from the cold water and the shock of the moment. "Are you okay?" he asked, concern etched on his face as he held both of them close, scanning for any visible signs of distress. Mia nodded, but her eyes were locked on Sarah, who was still struggling to regain her composure. "I'm fine, but Sarah, she needs help." Sarah's breaths came in shallow gasps, her eyes wide with fear. "I couldn't breathe. I thought I was going to drown," she managed to choke out, her voice trembling. Ethan's expression softened, a mix of relief and concern. "You're all safe now," he reassured her, brushing a damp strand of hair from her forehead. "But we need to get you checked out." The officials had gathered. The competition momentarily halted as everyone processed the scene. But amidst the chaos, a bond had formed between Mia and Sarah, forged in the depths of the water, where fear had threatened to consume one of them. As they were pulled from the pool, the realization of what had just happened settled heavily over them. The competition had shifted in a way none of them could have anticipated, a moment that would forever change the dynamics of their friendship and the path ahead. Mia glanced at Sarah, a mixture of worry and compassion flooding her heart. They had entered this competition as rivals, but now they stood together, united by an experience that transcended the race itself. Whatever lay ahead, they would face it together, no longer just competitors, but allies in a world of uncertainty. The aftermath of the incident at the championship pool was a whirlwind of emotions for Mia and Sarah. As they sat on the edge of the pool, their feet dangling in the cool water, the reality of the situation began to sink in. The adrenaline from the rescue was fading, replaced by a heaviness that neither of them could shake. Ethan stood a few feet away, his brow furrowed with concern. He had just finished speaking to a group of reporters who wanted to hear about the heroics and the dramatic rescue that had unfolded in front of a packed audience. But while the media was delighted with the story they could spin, Ethan was more focused on the emotional and psychological aftermath for both girls. "Mia, Sarah," he called, his voice steady but laced with a hint of urgency. "Can we talk for a moment?" Mia looked at Sarah, her heart pounding. She nodded, albeit hesitantly. They slid off the edge of the pool and stepped onto the wet tiles, water droplets cascading off their bodies. As they approached Ethan, Mia couldn't help but feel a swell of pride mixed with confusion. They were heroes, but at what cost? "First off, I want to commend both of you for what you did today," Ethan began, his tone serious yet warm. "You saved a life, and that is something no championship medal can ever compare to." "Thanks, Ethan," Mia replied, her voice barely above a whisper. She felt a strange mix of elation and guilt. "But Sarah, she was struggling. I just reacted." "Your instincts were spot on, Mia," Ethan reassured her. "But We need to talk about Sarah. He turned his attention to Sarah, concern etched on his face. You need to seek help. This isn't just about today. It's about everything leading up to this moment. Sarah's expression hardened, a barrier rising between her and the world around her. I'm fine, Ethan. I don't need help, she replied defensively, crossing her arms tightly. Fine? You almost drowned. You were in the middle of a panic attack, Ethan countered, his voice rising slightly. This isn't just a physical issue. It's serious. You need to confront what's going on inside you. Mia watched the exchange, feeling the tension mounting. She could see the cracks in Sarah's facade, the way her bravado was crumbling under the weight of reality. Sarah, please, she said gently, stepping closer. You don't have to go through this alone. We're here for you. Are you really? Sarah shot back, her eyes flashing with anger. You think you understand what I'm going through? You think any of this is easy for me? No, I don't, Mia admitted, her heart racing. But I want to understand. I want to help, Ethan sighed, running a hand through his hair. Sarah, this isn't just about you anymore. It's about your health and the impact your actions have on the team. You need to be honest with us. Taking a deep breath, Sarah felt the weight of the world pressing down on her. Fine, she said, her voice trembling. You want honesty? Here it is. I've been using performance-enhancing drugs. I thought I could keep my title without them. But I was terrified of failing. The confession hung in the air like a thick fog. Mia's eyes widened, the shock coursing through her veins. What? She gasped, her heart sinking. Sarah, you can't be serious. I am serious, Sarah snapped, her frustration bubbling over. You think I wanted to do this? I was drowning in pressure. I felt like I had to do something, anything, to stay on top. I thought it would make me invincible. Ethan's face paled, a mix of concern and disappointment flooding his expression. Sarah, that's incredibly dangerous. Not just for you, but for everyone on the team. If this gets out, I know. She interrupted, her voice cracking. I know the risks, but I didn't know how else to cope. I couldn't let my parents down, or my teammates. I couldn't let myself down. Winning was the only thing that mattered. Mia felt her heart shatter for her friend, but there was also a flicker of anger rising within her. But did it ever occur to you that you could have talked to us? We're supposed to be a team, Sarah. I didn't want to drag you down with me, Sarah whispered, tears welling in her eyes. I didn't want you to think I was weak. You're not weak for asking for help, Mia exclaimed, her voice rising. You're human. We all have our struggles. I thought we were past this. Ethan stepped in, his tone softening as he looked from one girl to the other. Sarah, you need to take responsibility for your actions. You can't run from this anymore. You have to be honest with yourself and with your coaches. There are consequences. Sarah looked down, the weight of her choices crashing over her like a tidal wave. I know, she murmured, her voice barely audible. I don't know what to do. First, you have to tell the truth, Ethan urged. To your parents, to the team, and to yourself. Only then can you start to heal and rebuild. Mia placed a hand on Sarah's shoulder, feeling the warmth of their friendship but also the space that had grown between them. I'll be with you, Sarah. You don't have to do this alone. We'll face it together. For a moment, Sarah looked up, vulnerability shining through her eyes. You really mean that? She asked, her voice shaking. Absolutely, Mia said firmly. We're friends. We fight together, right? As Sarah nodded, a small flicker of hope ignited in her heart, yet the enormity of what lay ahead loomed over her. Just as she was about to speak, Ethan's phone buzzed in his pocket. He pulled it out, glancing at the screen before frowning deeply. What is it? Mia asked, sensing the shift in his demeanor. Ethan hesitated, his eyes narrowing as he read the message. It's an anonymous letter. Someone sent it to me about the team. His voice was low, almost a whisper. It mentions more secrets, things that could change everything. The tension in the air thickened, the weight of unspoken truths hanging heavily over them. Mia exchanged glances with Sarah, a shared understanding dawning between them. They weren't just battling their own demons. There were shadows lurking within the team that could threaten everything they had worked for. "What does it say?" Sarah asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Ethan shook his head, his expression grim. "I don't know yet. I need to read it fully and consider the implications. But whatever is happening, we need to be prepared." As the three of them stood there in the echoing silence of the empty pool, the enormity of the moment settled in. Mia felt a mixture of fear and resolve. They were on the brink of a storm that could change their lives forever. With secrets revealed and new challenges ahead, the bond they had forged would be tested like never before. "Let's figure this out together," Mia said, her voice steady. "Whatever happens next, we face it as a team." And with that, they knew they were about to embark on a journey filled with uncertainty, but also with the promise of growth, resilience, and the strength of friendship that could weather any storm.